we are going to talk to the new Labour MP for Bolsover, Natalie Fleet. She has waived her right to anonymity to talk to you this evening. As a teenager, Natalie was groomed and raped. Thank you very much for being with us and talking to our audience.
Statutory rape. It was statutory rape, and the reason I feel like I need to say that is because the minute that you say rape, then people don't believe you. It doesn't matter who it is. That, you know, the biggest fear with rape is that people aren't going to believe you. The reason that I feel able to talk out is because legally it was statutory rape.
Because you were 15?
Because I was 15 and he was an older man. Now, they would always deny that there was any grooming involved, or that you know, all of those things. There are people that would say that I asked for it, that I dressed in the wrong way, that it was all, you know, all of those things. The reason I feel able to talk to it about it, and so many women don't, is because in law this was statutory rape, and that means that that first hurdle about I won't be believed is overcome because, you know, I have the beautiful 23-year-old to prove it.
Well, our audience may not know that. You were impregnated by this older man and you gave birth to a little girl.
Yeah. What
did people say to you at that time when you were pregnant as a 15-year-old?
They were, as you would expect society to be, probably they spoke to me in a similar way that unfortunately they still would to a 15-year-old today. I was called, you know, horrendous names, like just, you know, the usual, a slag, a slapper. Does she know who the father is? She you know, she sleeps about. She's just a slag, and I, yeah, it was really tough. But I felt that it was my fault. I never thought that anybody else had done anything wrong. I thought it was my fault. It was all my fault, because that's what girls are led to believe. And it was only when my daughter got a bit older, and the more we started talking about stuff, I think actually that legally was statutory rape. And then I've got this beautiful daughter. I mean, she is incredible. I struggled with things like she looked away that I didn't always love, absolutely stunningly beautiful, but she didn't have my hair. And she's incredible, but I wanted to talk to her about the fact that she came from less than ideal circumstances. So what I did is I Googled for support, because I thought, I don't know what to do here. And I Googled, and there was no acknowledgement that it happens in this country. There were academic papers on countries that were really far away. There was no practical help on the NHS website. There was no charity. There was nothing to tell me that it was okay to sometimes be a bit uncomfortable about beautiful hair, or to sometimes feel that, oh, I love her more than anything in the world. And also, it was quite tricky being pregnant at 15 and not really understanding that we were having unprotected sex, not knowing that. There was no support for me whatsoever. So I phoned a charity and I asked them, and they said that they didn't have support for conceptions either. And then the more I did, I realised that there's an estimate that in 2021 there were 3,300 births from rape. Now that's an estimate, so it's probably the tip of the iceberg. We don't know the data. If these women tell their truth, they're probably not going to be believed. If they're really brave and they tell their truth, it's going to take a long time under the Conservative government to go to court. And then I've got constituents come to me as soon as I'm elected saying, I've tried to take my life because I've waited so long to get to court. Can you help? And then you've got the new Labour government having to make decisions like release people early that are in court, or are in prison, when the brave women have spoken out and got that prosecution. And then the final piece of the jigsaw is that if you have a child from rape, then that perpetrator can have full access to that child. It just feels like there's so much work to do, and I felt like I had a responsibility to speak out, even though it is really difficult and really scary.
Yeah. I know, you are scared, you are terrified.
Yeah.
Have a drink.
Thank you.
Did anyone ask you, age 15?
No, because
what was going on? How that happened?
Because it doesn't matter what age you are. When you are a woman, there are people now that will say that that was my fault. There were definitely people that said that in 2020, the year 2000. Nobody was asking me. They were putting support in place to make sure there was a teenage pregnancy prevention strategy under the last Labour government. There was support from health visitors. There was support so that I could still go on, send my child to a Sure Start nursery and go to university. There was support from the government and there was support from professionals to learn things like to breastfeed her.
Yeah.
Nobody was asking the question about where she came from and if I was okay. It just wasn't culturally a thing, and I don't know that we've moved on that far now.
Why do you believe violence against women and girls is on the increase, which is what this report says today?
I'm not surprised. If this happened to me now, would I be brave enough to talk about it? Probably not, because I'd be terrified. I wouldn't be believed. I'd be terrified of the backlash. I'm terrified of the backlash, even though this is a legal reality. I am scared. The sense of responsibility to speak out trumps that, so I am speaking out. But they don't say anything. And I think that we, as parents, I've got two lovely lads that I'm really proud of.
Young adults?
Yeah. And I have chats with them, really uncomfortable chats that they wish I wasn't having, about what consent means, about if they bring somebody home, we're not going to have sex with her that night. Instead, we're going to wait until the next morning when we've both sobered up, we're going to check it's okay, and then we're going to have a great time then. And then they're like, Mum, I can't believe you're having these conversations with us. And I have the same conversations with their friends. And I think that in society, not enough of these conversations with our young people are happening, and as well, not enough women are talking about their experience. What shocked me most since I first spoke about this on Sunday is the amount of women that have got a similar story and a similar experience. I think you'd have to go a long way to find somebody who hadn't experienced it. We're just not talking about it, and that's not okay.
You are an MP now.
Yeah.
If a young woman came to you and shared an experience like you went through, you endured, and said, shall I go to the police? What would you say to her?
I would encourage her to, but I wouldn't judge her if she didn't want to. I would tell her about the support that we're putting in place, that we're setting up rape courts across the country. I would tell her, if there was a conception, about the work that I want to do in terms of making sure that we've got some kind of charity that can give support. But I wouldn't judge her if she didn't want to move forward with it, because we've got to start believing women. I would believe her. I believe the women that have come to me, and I've had loads of support from women. We need to support each other. We need to believe each other, and then she's going to be more likely to go to the police once she knows that they will believe her, they will look after her, they will support her, and there will be a sentence. And you know, I'm excited to hear about what this Labour government's going to do about making sure that those perpetrators don't get access to those children if they are conceived via rape.
You have spoken with such courage and dignity to our audience tonight, and I'm really grateful. You will have helped so many people. Thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to Andy Burnham and Ben Houchin now, who I know were listening. Andy Burnham, I think you were nodding as Natalie was saying, we don't talk about this enough.
Yes, I was. Victoria, I just want to echo what you said at the end of that interview. I think Natalie Fleet's going to be a really important voice in this Parliament on the issue of sexual abuse and exploitation of women and girls. So all credit to her. And as you say, she'll have empowered many people in the last few days, given as a new MP she's chosen to do what she's done. I think we do need the culture change that she speaks of. We just have a situation now where extreme images are far too readily available in society, and that clearly has an impact on young men, lads who look at those kind of images. But we have culture issues within the police, and you may remember I commissioned a report last week to look at some of those issues and to make some really clear statements about the use of strip search within the police. I'm saying there should be a presumption against it. And we need a real change there, picking up some of the issues around policing that were mentioned before. For me, when Sarah Everard was murdered, I'll be honest and say to you, Victoria, I had conversations with my daughters that I should have had before, but I finally did have, in terms of understanding some of the issues that they experience every day. And when I really focused on things, I realised that we needed a big culture change. I led a campaign called Is This OK in Greater Manchester, aimed at men, lads and boys, challenging them in terms of their behaviour or behaviour of their friends, and they're there witnessing it, saying we're not accepting it anymore, it's got to be called out, it's got to be stopped. And we set up a gender-based violence board that has got some improvement going now with relation to rape cases, domestic abuse cases brought to justice, but we are in the foothills of this. And it will be voices like Natalie's that will need to lead us into a much different place. So all power to her and others on the programme who've spoken out tonight.